There comes a moment in life when you look at yourself and realize that you are capable of much more than what you're currently doing, but something holds you back. Not lack of talent, not lack of opportunity, just lack of movement. Laziness slowly becomes a habit, and that habit becomes a cage. Today's message is for anyone who knows deep down that they are not living at even half of their real potential. Most people don't realize that laziness is not the real problem, it's only the symptom. Beneath it, there are hidden fears, distractions, excuses, and mental stories that drain your energy. In this video, we are going to understand what those stories are and how to break free from them so that you can finally wake up, rise, and become the person you know you can be. When people call themselves lazy, they often believe it's because they love comfort too much. They think they're avoiding effort because they prefer rest, relaxation, or temporary pleasure. But laziness rarely comes from comfort. It comes from confusion. A confused mind does nothing. A directionless mind feels tired without even moving. When a person doesn't know where they're going, even the smallest step feels heavy. Think about mornings when you wake up with clarity, with a purpose, with a plan. Suddenly, getting out of bed is easy. Your feet hit the floor with energy, your mind wakes up faster, and tasks that usually feel draining suddenly feel meaningful. Now compare that to a morning when you have no idea what to do, or worse. You have too many things to do but no clarity about where to start. You stay in bed, not because your body is lazy, but because your mind is overloaded. Laziness is a side effect of a cluttered inner world. Confusion creates emotional noise. Noise creates hesitation. Hesitation creates inaction. And that inaction is what the world labels as laziness. But inside, it is not laziness, you feel it, is resistance. Sometimes you resist because you fear failure. Sometimes because you fear success. Sometimes because you don't want to disappoint others. And sometimes because you don't know whether your efforts even matter. All these small doubts pile up until they become a heavy weight on your motivation. There was once a young man who kept delaying everything important in his life. His studies, his career plans, even small tasks like cleaning his room. Everyone told him he was lazy. He began to believe it too. But one day someone asked him a simple question, what exactly are you supposed to be doing right now? He paused. He didn't know. He had vague ideas, random goals, half-written plans, dreams without timelines. He realized that it wasn't laziness holding him back. It was the fog of uncertainty. When he finally sat down, wrote his priorities clearly and broke them into steps, he felt a surge of energy he hadn't felt in years. This is the power of clarity. Clarity gives direction. Direction creates movement. Movement destroys laziness. Your brain is designed to conserve energy when the path ahead is unclear. That's why even thinking about a task becomes exhausting when you don't know where to begin. Laziness is your mind's way of saying, I don't understand what you want from me. Imagine standing at a crossroads with 5 different roads, but no signs, no map, and no idea where any road leads. You won't walk, not because you're lazy, because you're confused. But imagine one clear sign saying this path will take you where you want to go. Suddenly everything becomes easier. To stop feeling lazy, you don't need to force yourself. You need to unconfuse yourself. Ask yourself simple questions. What exactly do I want? What is the first small step? When will I do it? How will I do it? The moment you answer these questions, energy returns. Not because you have changed, but because your relationship with the task has changed. Clarity is the antidote to laziness. When the mind knows the path, the body follows. When the mind sees the purpose, effort feels lighter. When the mind understands the direction, inspiration naturally awakens. And when inspiration awakens, laziness loses its grip effortlessly. Most people believe that the reason they don't take action is because they lack motivation. They think they need to feel inspired, energetic, and emotionally charged before they can begin. But motivation is one of the most unreliable fuels in the world. It appears suddenly, burns brightly for a moment, and disappears without warning. If your actions depend on motivation, you will always live an inconsistent life. You will work only on days you feel good, move only when your mood agrees, and progress only when inspiration randomly visits you. Momentum, on the other hand, is stable. It doesn't ask how you feel. It only asks if you're willing to take the next small step. Where motivation pushes you, momentum carries you. With motivation, you need to constantly convince yourself. With momentum, you don't think. You just move. Motivation is emotional. Momentum is mechanical. And surprisingly, the mechanical approach wins almost every time. Imagine a giant flywheel, heavy, difficult to move, not responding for a long time. Your first push barely shifts it. The second push feels just as hopeless. The third one makes you question why you are trying at all. But somewhere around the 10th, 20th or 50th push, something starts to change. The wheel begins to move a little faster, then a little more. Eventually it starts spinning on its own. At that moment, momentum takes over and your effort becomes lighter. This is exactly how human behavior works. The beginning feels impossible, not because you are lazy, but because you have no motion yet. Many people sit and wait for the perfect moment when they will feel motivated. They tell themselves, tomorrow I'll start. When I feel ready, I'll begin. Or one day I'll change. But readiness is a myth. No one wakes up one morning magically transformed. Change happens not when you feel ready, but when you begin despite not feeling ready. Motivation may start your journey occasionally, but momentum guarantees you finish it. There was a young woman who always wanted to write a book. She had ideas, dreams, notebooks filled with rough outlines. But she never wrote consistently. She waited for inspiration to strike. She waited for the perfect mood. She waited for the ideal environment. Years passed. Nothing happened. One day, a mentor told her, write just 10 minutes daily. Even if it's bad, even if it's boring, even if you feel nothing. She reluctantly agreed. The first day was a struggle. The second day wasn't much better. But by the 7th day, something unlocked. Her words began to flow. Her sessions became longer. She no longer needed motivation. The habit itself pushed her forward. Momentum had taken control. This is the power of starting small. You don't need a 1-hour workout. You need 5 minutes. You don't need to clean your entire room. Just clear your desk. You don't need to meditate for 20 minutes. Close your eyes for 2 minutes. These small actions are not about results. They are about motion. They remind your brain that you are someone who moves, someone who acts, someone who does not wait. The human mind loves consistency. When you do something repeatedly, your brain rewires itself. It starts expecting the action. It feels uncomfortable when you don't do it. This is why waking up early becomes easier after a week, why exercising becomes enjoyable after several days, why studying becomes routine once you build the rhythm. You don't need motivation because your habits begin to drive you automatically. Momentum doesn't make you superhuman. It simply removes the weight of starting every single day. You stop negotiating with yourself. You stop overthinking. You stop delaying. You just begin. And when you begin, you realize that you never needed motivation, you only needed movement. Even the smallest step forward generates more energy than the biggest intention. Momentum is the secret. Motion creates more motion. Progress creates more progress. And once you build this inner engine, laziness no longer stands a chance. Most people hear the word discipline and immediately think of restriction. They imagine rules, pressure, routines, and the loss of comfort. But discipline is not a prison. It is actually the shortest path to freedom. A disciplined life doesn't trap you. It liberates you from the very habits that hold you back. It frees you from procrastination, from doubt, from chaos, from the mental noise that drains your energy every single day. A person without discipline spends their life negotiating with themselves. Should I do this now or later? Maybe I'll start tomorrow. What if I don't feel like it today? This endless internal debate exhausts the mind far more than the work itself. But a disciplined person doesn't engage in this conversation. They simply do what needs to be done, whether they feel like it or not. That consistency becomes their power. And that power becomes their freedom. Think of a river that flows in every direction. It spreads itself thin. loses its force and makes very little impact. But when the same river is channeled into a narrow path, the pressure increases. The flow becomes powerful, and that power can generate electricity. Human potential works the same way. Without discipline, your energy scatters. With discipline, your energy becomes unstoppable. It focuses your strengths, sharpens your mind, and amplifies your ability. Sometimes people think discipline means waking up at 5 a.m., working tirelessly, and sacrificing joy. But true discipline is not about harshness. It is about alignment. It simply means creating a structure where your actions support your goals rather than fight against them. You don't discipline yourself to suffer. You discipline yourself to create a life where suffering is minimized. Because nothing hurts more than wasted potential. Nothing feels heavier than knowing you could have done more but didn't. Discipline protects you from that regret. Imagine a musician who practices daily. The first few weeks require effort. Their fingers hurt. Their mind resists. Their progress seems slow. But over time, the daily practice becomes natural. Their skill improves. Their confidence grows. Their mind sharpens. Soon, something magical happens. They begin to enjoy the very practice that once felt difficult. They reach a level of mastery where playing is no longer effort, it becomes expression. This transformation doesn't happen because they were motivated. It happens because they were disciplined. Discipline turns your toughest tasks into effortless habits. It transforms the impossible into the inevitable. It rewires your brain so deeply that the identity you build becomes stronger than any laziness you once struggled with. When discipline becomes part of who you are, freedom follows naturally. You are free from the fear of failure because you trust your consistency. You are free from procrastination because you know you can rely on yourself. You are free from chaos because your routines guide you. You are free from emotional ups and downs because your discipline provides stability. Some people wait for life to become easier before they take action. But life doesn't become easier first. You become stronger first. You grow through the small disciplines, waking up on time, finishing what you start, keeping promises to yourself, showing up even on days when your mood is low. Every small discipline is like laying a brick. One brick doesn't change your life. But 1,000 bricks, they build a structure that can't be shaken. Discipline is not the enemy of freedom. It is the doorway to freedom. The moment you commit to discipline, life stops controlling you. You start controlling life. People often blame themselves for being lazy. They think the problem lies in their personality, their habits, or their lack of mental strength. But in reality, laziness is often not a character issue, it's an environment issue. Your surroundings shape your behavior far more powerfully than your intention. You may have the strongest goals, the biggest dreams, and the clearest intentions, but if your environment is pulling you in the opposite direction, your willpower won't stand a chance. Willpower is like a battery. It drains quickly when it is constantly fighting against distraction. Temptations, clutter, negative people, or unproductive routine. You may start your day with enthusiasm, but if your phone is constantly buzzing, your workspace is messy, your relationships drain you, or your daily atmosphere lacks inspiration, your energy will slowly collapse. Not because you are lazy, but because you are trying to swim upstream in a river that is pushing you backward. Your environment has silent power. It influences your thoughts, your emotions, and your behavior without you even realizing it. If your room is chaotic, your mind becomes chaotic. If the people around you complain constantly, you begin to think negatively. If your friends waste time, you start feeling comfortable wasting time. If your space is filled with distractions, your focus evaporates. The environment wins long before willpower enters the conversation. There was once a student who struggled to study consistently. He blamed himself for being lazy, unmotivated, and undisciplined. But one day, instead of forcing himself again, he made one simple change. He cleaned his room. He removed distractions, organized his books, and created a small corner dedicated only to studying. The next day, something surprising happened. He sat down to study without resistance. He didn't feel the usual mental heaviness. For the first time in months, He actually enjoyed the process. His behavior didn't change because he suddenly became disciplined. It changed because his environment supported his actions instead of fighting against them. The environment you create is the energy you live in. If you want to wake up early, make your bedroom inspiring. If you want to exercise, keep your clothes and shoes ready. If you want to study, build a clean workspace. If you want to think positively, surround yourself with uplifting people. Your surroundings should whisper to your mind, this is who you are becoming. When your environment reflects your goals, your behavior follows naturally. People often try to change their life by forcing themselves through willpower alone, but willpower is temporary. Environment is permanent. Willpower requires effort. Environment requires setup. Once you set it, it works for you automatically. A supportive environment makes the right action the easy action. A destructive environment makes the wrong action the default action. Think of your environment as the soil and yourself as the seed. A seed cannot grow in the wrong soil, no matter how much willpower it has. But the same seed, planted in the right soil, grows without struggle. Your dreams, your habits, your routines, they all grow in the soil you create around yourself. If you want to stop being lazy, don't only work on your mind. Work on your surroundings. Change your room. Change your daily setup. Change your digital environment. Change the people you allow close to you. Change the places you spend your time. Change the atmosphere in which your mind lies. A strong environment doesn't replace willpower, but it reduces the need for it. It turns discipline into something natural, not forced. It gives your mind oxygen instead of pressure. And once your environment starts supporting your goals, laziness begins to disappear on its own, like a shadow fading in the presence of light. Take a moment and breathe, not the hurried breath you take between tasks, but a conscious one, the kind that reminds you that you are still capable of more than you've shown the world. Today's message is not about blaming yourself. It's about waking up to the truth that your life is waiting for you. Laziness is not your identity. It is only a temporary pause in your potential. Inside you, there is a version of yourself that is stronger, clearer, more focused, more alive. That version is not far away. It's one decision away, one small step, one shift in mindset, one moment of honesty where you say, I deserve better than the life I am settling for. Every day gives you two choices. Stay the same or rise a little higher. And you don't have to rise perfectly. You just have to rise consistently. You don't need a sudden transformation. You only need a gentle awakening. Today can be that awakening. Not because this message is powerful, but because you are. And deep within, you already know it.